Since suffering a calf strain in Game 5 of the Rockets series, and the two-time Finals MVP has missed 5 full games, including the Western Conference Finals against the Blazers, as he recovers from an injury that will likely force him to miss the start of the NBA Finals next Thursday night. Today, KD didn't hold back on his role with the team and dealing with this current injury. Listen up.
Does it feel similar to your previous calf injuries, or does it feel a little different?
Nah, it was different.
How so?
It was worse. Like, we were down 17 a few times in this last series, and I'm just sitting on my couch like, yo, are we gonna guard this pick and roll? Are we gonna stop turning the ball over? And I'm just like, I told my friends, I'm like, yo, that I do out on the court. And I know somebody probably looking at me like, yo, stop turning the rock over, run back on defense. But like I said, I just try to stay engaged somehow, even though I can't play.
How have you thought about their play?
Our play?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I think we've been playing great.
You feel like there is that almost split where it's like you and them?
Most definitely. I mean, it's been that way since I got here. It's the Warriors and KD, you know what I'm saying? And I understand that. And I felt like my teammates and the organization know exactly what I've done here on and off the court to become a part of this culture to kind of, stamp my flag in this, in this coach and this organization. I've done in, the last 2 years, pretty much everything that they asked me to do, from player, from an ambassador, I guess, of the organization and the community, from, working hard every single day in shoot-arounds and practice. So I know what I bring to the team, but I also know that a lot of people on the outside, don't like to see us together, and, I get it.
And Michael Wilbon joins us now on SportsCenter. Michael, when you hear KD emphasize that it's our play instead of their play and that it's the Warriors and KD, what does that tell you about how he really feels right now about his time with the organization?
Well, he feels comfortable. He feels like he's been in it for a while. It's interesting, like 3 years in professional sports time can be a long time. I loved his answers. I thought they were reasonable. They weren't going to be egomaniacal. I don't know what people expected, but they weren't going to be detached. Like he's begging at this point, having been the MVP of the finals twice and fit in so well there. If you're around that team, and I have been, they accept him. They depend on him. There's a feeling of camaraderie that doesn't say, oh, you joined us late. That's not the feeling at all around that team. So that's what I expect to hear from Kevin Durant.
All right, now, after hearing his reaction to the calf injury, and we got video of him walking it, it looks like it's a slight limp, with the timetable unknown of when he's going to return. If you're the Warriors at this point, how much can you count on Kevin Durant being a factor in the NBA Finals?
You don't. You play with who you've got that day. They got a pretty darn good team considering what we've seen from the end of Game 5, the last 14 minutes of that against Houston, throughout the sweep, the famous Game 6 now, and the sweep of Portland. They don't have to depend on Kevin Durant. They got guys they got 3 all-league players still in that lineup they can depend on, plus a Finals MVP and Andre Iguodala whenever he gets back. They don't have to depend on him. But if they get him back, and if they get Boogie Cousins back, and by the way, it's tough to work guys who are that tremendous, the talent, it's tough to work them back in. They have to practice and be involved. Then they get a bonus. And maybe they'll do that. I'm not sure how Steve Kerr feels about that, whether those guys can do that. But it's some bonus if they do. But I don't see how they can count on them today at all.
All right. And you say that because we're still 6 days away from Game 1 of the NBA Finals. A lot can change. Michael Wilbon on Kevin Durant. Now, if KD does miss a finals game, it would be very rare. The last time a team's top scorer from the regular season missed a finals game, got to go back to 1991 when the Lakers' James Worthy sat out of the Bulls series clincher. That was MJ's first title. Prior to that, it was Magic Johnson back in 1989, and then Kareem in 1980, where Magic was the superstar as the rookie playing center, and then Willis Reed back in 1970.
And just like that, it's a 3-2 Eastern Conference Finals series lead for the Toronto Raptors, not the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's how the Raptors have turned things around. It starts with the decision to have Kawhi Leonard guard Giannis. The Bucks offense has been over 30 points per 100 possessions worse when Kawhi guards Giannis compared to anybody else, and it was more than a 50-point difference in Game 5 last night. Kawhi and Giannis have both drawn plenty of defenders this series, but Kawhi did more to involve his teammates last night. He had 6 assists on drives when the defense had a help defender. Giannis had 1. as the Raptors walled off the lane against him. And Fred VanVleet has gotten hot at the perfect time to finally give the Raptors much-needed bench production. He's 7 for 8 on wide-open threes in the last 2 games after going 7 for 30 in his first 15 playoff games. The Bucks MVP finalist still confident, though.
We're not going to fold, man. Come on, man. We best team in the league, man. We're not going to fold. We're going to go and give everything we got. We're not going to go there. And even they set a great tone, and they come out and hit us in the mouth first. We can't fold. We're going to come back to Milwaukee being pissed. Like, you cannot fold. You got to go out there and give everything you got. If we lose, we lose. Okay, cool. But we're not going to fold as a team, and that's not what we do.
All right, we'll see, but how the tables have turned. The Raptors were 6-1 underdogs to win this thing, entering Game 3 when they were down 2-0. Fast forward to today after taking a 3-2 series lead, and they are heavy favorites. Now, you were not alone if you thought the Raptors had no shot at coming back in this series. Take a look at this. Last Friday, before Game 2, Stephen A. Smith was also looking past the Raptors, which led to this conversation on SportsCenter. See, you're just assuming that the Bucks are going to go straight through and blow straight through, and Toronto's just out of the picture, right?
Why are you acting like you're surprised? I've said it numerous occasions.
I'm
the Milwaukee
making
Bucks
sure
are going to the NBA Finals. The Toronto Raptors are not going to beat them, nor am I wishing for the Toronto Raptors to beat them, because as I told them to their face just a few minutes ago, I don't have global entry yet. I'm not rooting for them.
All right, Stephen A. Smith. That was exactly 1 week ago. I mean, you borderline mocked me for asking the question about, wait a minute, you don't have any faith in Toronto? So a week later, what happened? Now what?
Well, first of all, Kawhi Leonard made us all look like fools. I know I look foolish today. I'm not alone. As a whole bunch of my contemporaries in this business, a lot of us didn't think that Toronto had any kind of chance based on what we saw the first 2 games. But then Nick Nurse showed us he can coach. And when he made the adjustment to put Kawhi Leonard on the Greek Freak, and we've seen how the Greek Freak has been neutralized. I mean, you have a situation right now where the Milwaukee Bucks have been completely exposed. I don't know how they overcome it. We shall see, but it just looks real bad right now, and we all look bad. I don't know about everybody else, but I have no problem standing up here and telling you that I was wrong. Hey, I told you how I felt. That's how the hell I felt a week ago. I didn't think they had any chance in hell of winning this series the way they looked in games 1 and 2. But Kawhi Leonard has turned me into a believer because he has shown us the difference between a superstar and a star. The Greek Freak is special, but there are levels to this. And Kawhi Leonard is on another level that the Greek Freak just can't touch just yet. It's that simple.
When you look back at what happened in their last game, he scored or assisted on 62 points, the most in any game in his career. So, I mean, you've been saying for a long time that Kevin Durant is the best player in the world, Stephen A. How close is to Kawhi Leonard for challenging?
Well, he's right there, and in some people's eyes, he's better, not mine. Kawhi Leonard is patient, he's poised, he's skilled, but he has to get to his spot in order to make things happen. Kevin Durant doesn't have a spot. He's 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan, can pull up for threes, got a mid-range game, got a handle, can get to the hole, can finish at the basket. Kevin Durant is an offensive arsenal, the likes of which we may have never seen. And as much as I respect and laud and praise Kawhi Leonard, there's levels to this too. He's not the offensive player that Kevin Durant is. And as far as I'm concerned, Kevin Durant right now is the best player in the world. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
You know, I want to get your take real quick on Giannis and give Kawhi so much credit for what he's done against him defensively, but Giannis has made just 7 shots outside the restricted area in this entire series. What is at stake for this young man tomorrow night?
Listen, nothing. Kawhi Leonard is Kawhi Leonard. He's a star. He's a dominant presence in the interior. He can't be guarded one-on-one, but if you crowd the lane and you turn him into a shooter that has to shoot the ball outside of 10 feet, he becomes incredibly ordinary, and that's the difference. He came into the league, and since he's been in the league, he's gained 51 pounds of muscle. He can handle the ball, he can get to the basket, he can finish at the basket in a very dominant fashion. But the game has changed over the years. You can't just dominate on the interior. You have to have some semblance of a perimeter game. He's coming, the future is bright, everybody knows it, but he's not there yet.
Yeah, well deserving of being in that MVP conversation from what happened in the regular season. But he's 24 years old, and you know what? I can't wait to see what's next. But we'll see. First things first, Game 6 tomorrow night in Toronto. Thanks, Stephen A.
I'm miserable. Global entry.
Stop it.
Global entry.
The two-time NBA Finals MVP, Kevin Durant, has missed 5 full games now, including all of the Western Conference Finals, as he recovers from the strained calf that he says is worse than he originally thought, worse than anything he's had in his career as far as the calf is concerned, likely forcing him to miss the start of the NBA Finals next Thursday night, at least. Today, you saw him on the court speaking to the media for the first time since he was injured, talked about a range of different topics, including this. Listen.
You feel like there is that almost split where it's like you and them?
Most definitely. I mean, it's been that way since I got here. It's the Warriors and KD, you know what I'm saying? And I understand that. And I felt like my teammates and the organization know exactly what I've done here on and off the court to become a part of this culture to kind of, stamp my flag in this, in this coaching, this organization I've done. And, the last 2 years, pretty much everything that they asked me to do, from player, from an ambassador, I guess, of the organization and the community, from, working hard every single day in shoot-arounds and practice. So I know what I bring to the team, but I also know that a lot of people on the outside, don't like to see us together. And, I get it.
ESPN NBA reporter Nick Friedel covers the Warriors for us, joins us now live from Oakland. And Nick, it's fascinating to me that Kevin Durant is still so aware of what people are saying about him on the outside in social media. You were there when he said that today, as well as Stephen Curry's comments. How did Steph react to what Kevin said?
Sage, KD's teammates all hear about the speculation. They've heard it all year about the future. In this moment, they're still committed to finding a way to make it work if indeed this is the last run for the group.
I feel like for the last 3 years, everybody has taken their shots at trying to nitpick or break us down or drive a wedge in our team chemistry or our togetherness and whatever the case is. And even this year, it's even been amplified even more with his free agency stuff. But at the end of the day, we are one group until we're not. And I don't think we're going to let any noise around us, as frustrating or entertaining or whatever you want to call it is on a daily basis, break us down in terms of distracting us from what the goal is.
Sage, the key here with Steph is that's as hard as I've seen him defend both KD and the rest of his teammates all year. They know what's being said about what may happen in 6 weeks, but they are focused on changing the narrative going into the finals. They want everybody on the same page. It was clear what Kevin said as well, and they feel great heading into Game 1.
As they should, considering the way they played without him throughout those Western Conference Finals. 6 days and counting till Game 1 tips off on ABC from either Milwaukee or Toronto. Not in Oakland this time. Nick Friedel, thank you so much.